one other little principle I'll add to that is there's the circle of influence, and then there's the circle of concern. And the circle of influence, for us that don't understand we have influence, can be very small. And the circle of concern is always much bigger. It's the things we worry about, the things we think about our control. And when we focus on the circle of concern, complaining, gossiping, worrying, doubting, our circle of influence shrinks.
Right.
But when we focus on our circle of influence, that one person that we can just give a kind word to, that one person or child or young adult that we can just support, even if it's just for an hour or for 10 minutes, our circle of influence expands. And I'll just say one last story. Don't get me started. I can't stop. But
it's great. We love it.
But there's a story of, and I wrote a song about this once called "The Little Things," and I always have a hard time saying it without choking up. But there was this woman was, and I finally met the woman that started this campaign. And I can't remember what the exact slogan is, but it's these little like buttons or stickers or something that says something about like you're special and you matter or something like that.
Yeah.
And it would just be like just pinning it on one person, right? And it was like this campaign when then their job was they would get one of them or two of them and they had to go find somebody to acknowledge and validate. And again, hold the space and see something better than that person could see. And so they pinned it on somebody on a bus that day, and that person was having a bad day, but it changed their day and they felt happy. And then they went to work that day and they pinned it on somebody else, and that person was like, wow, because normally everybody was kind of at each other's throat, and they felt so good. And then they went up to the boss that day, or maybe the next day, and this was a boss that nobody really liked. He was kind of cranky, and so he was kind of defensive, and they went and they just want to say, I just want you to know I really appreciate what you're doing, and I see you, and I appreciate you, and they gave him this pin. And he was so moved by that, because normally all the experience was people seeing him in that small box, right? The below average student, the below average person. And so he would live up to that or down to that in that relationship. And he was so touched that he went home to his son, who he had had a very estranged relationship with. And he went into his son's room. Wow. You'd think after telling this so many times it wouldn't choke me up so much every time. And he gave his son this pin. And he said, I know we've been having our problems, but I just want you to know I see you.
Oh.
So it gets better.
I see you.
I appreciate you, and if you need to talk, whatever, I'm here. And he left, went back out to the living room or whatever, and a few minutes later his son came out, and he had a gun in his hand. And he said, I'd gotten this, I felt like there was nothing left to live for, and I was going to take my life today.
Wow.
So that seeming anonymous person
pin.
that put a little pin on one person and smiled on a bus miles and miles away saved that boy's life.
Wow.
And so we just don't know.
We don't know.
And so she was a trim tab that moved a ship. And what if that boy carried within him the cure to some disease, or was going to grow up to be some leader that
in his emergence.
In his emergence. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
It's like the butterfly effect. Those acts of kindness and those acts of supporting others and seeing the best in others and holding the space in others over a period of time does change nations. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Does change the world. And so you can tell I'm kind of passionate about this.
I am so glad you're passionate about it, and happy. Thank you for sharing your passion with us, because, passion is what creates the fire within that helps to transform our thinking and the possibility of our dreaming into something that can become real. And in the Cafe of Dreams, we talk about, hey, you put some ingredients in this batter and then you put it in an oven. You got to turn up the heat and have the passion there. Otherwise, the ingredients will never actually change into a cake. You need some fire. So the passion that you bring to us today is much appreciated. Because what I'm seeing is that it only takes one person, and yet as you become one who can see the potential, that great potential in others, that which is emerging at all times in all of us, and whether it's individually, in groups, in corporations, in nations and so forth, as you mentioned, then you can hold, if we all can group together like a circle of light and hold more and more into the thoughts of emergence and what is possible and just hold that truth, then the world will be a better place.
Yes.